Hi, everyone, and welcome to our Turing Dev Talks. This is your host today, Fernanda, and I'm happy to be tuning in from Brazil. On the panel today, we have Raphael, who is also joining us from Brazil and is a Turing developer. Hi, Raph. How are you today?
Hi, Fernand. I'm really great. I'm really excited to be here with you today.
Awesome. This is great. Super happy to have you. Where are you in Brazil, Raph?
I'm São Paulo.
Okay, near where I live. How's the weather there? Today is kind of hot here. It's
Yeah,
like summer is coming, right, in
it's true.
Brazil?
Yeah.
Yeah, that's true. So today's discussion is going to be a little bit different, guys. We are going to talk about the importance of soft skills in the world of technology. But before we officially begin, I'd like to tell everybody that Raphael here is a data scientist and has been one for long 10 years. Is that right, Rafa?
Yes, yes. I'm working for 10 years as data science. I started working from Brazil with startups, big companies, and now with Turing, I have the opportunity to work with an international company in a global team. It has been a really, really great experience for me.
Great, awesome. Glad to hear that. And I have been told that you even own a YouTube channel on how people can become data scientists. Is that right?
Yes, it was experience from the pandemic. I was with a lot of free time. I believe all of us worked with a lot of free time. So I realized that I consume a lot of content in English about data science. I have a lot of YouTubers that speak about this theme in English, and I realized that here in Brazil there are a few people talking about data science. We have a lot of channels in Portuguese talking about technology, about programming skills, about development, but just not focus on data science. So I start to make just for fun some first videos. The audience that was very rewarding with my content. Then I was engaged and produced much more content in Portuguese which was very few content at that time. So this has been an amazing experience.
Wow, this is really cool. This is really amazing. I can see that you have a very nice background. Is that the background you use for your YouTube
Yes,
videos?
yes, this is the scenario of my YouTube channel. As I bring from something from the academic aspect from university in a soft and great language, I really appreciate to share some bugs, some information that I've been collected around this whole period of my experience.
This is really nice, really nice. And I can see that you are a bookworm. Rap,
Yeah,
do you like
I
reading?
really like bugs.
Yeah, likewise. I love reading too. I am a bookworm as well. But I must confess that I recently switched to Kindle and it kind of changed my life. I love it. I was like very reluctant. I need the paper, I need the physical book to like move pages. But now I just like gave it up and I'm a Kindle lover.
I'm still with both, I believe, because there are some books mainly in data science and exacts that are really expensive. So Kingdom is a great
Yeah.
option to have an electronic version for a cheaper price than have the physical book. That's why I still use the both kind of
Yeah.
medias.
Yeah, makes sense, totally. So, Raphael, we have been hearing a lot, discussing a lot about technology. And of course, being well versed in a tech stack is very important to land a job in the software industry. But there's definitely more to it than what's visible on the surface. What about soft skills? That's a subject I love talking about. I love discussing about soft skill and how important they are. So how important do you think soft skills are for developers to land great jobs?
I believe that this most important part of soft skills because curriculum everyone has one. It's a code piece of information. No one can really understand if you how you deal with a team work, for example, how you communicate yourself, how you understand the challenges that you will fight in your day by day work activities. And this is the most differential aspect on my hiring Turing, I believe. Even talk with my supervisor, they realize that he really like my profile because I'm able to communicate myself. I'm able to explain what is my part on the organization, what I have been done in my last project, how I deal with some adversities. So and focus on the day-by-day job. It's really difficult to change a position when someone not fits with the team. So the guys on the company that I work prefer to spend a lot of time searching for a great position for a guy who will have a very great cultural fit with the team, then just only with the curriculum and something like hard skills aspects. Because if you hire something wrong, it's very difficult and costly to correct in a while, in a long run. It's difficult to understand what is happening with the team. It's difficult to detect if it's a future problem, for example. So the soft skills nowadays, I believe that is the much more the great majority of the impact in the hiring perspective.
Yeah, absolutely. I completely agree with you. Actually, it's part of my job it's part of my job at Turing to manage our developer success team at Turing. So I constantly do orientation sessions and onboarding sessions with our new Turing developers. And one of the things that we love addressing to them is the importance of being not only a great developer but a great communicator. Because when you say, hey, this guy is a great developer, what does it mean to be a great remote developer nowadays? It's definitely not only having great technical skills, but also being a good a good communicator, communicating things effectively, as you mentioned before. Conflicts, like you gave very good examples right now, and then I think we could think about the list of soft skills that we have. We have adaptability, we have communication, we have creative thinking, dependability, work ethic, teamwork, behavior, like even personality traits, how we can adapt our own personality traits to the environment we are sharing with others, especially in a global distributed environment workplace, right? Every day you connect with people from completely different cultural backgrounds, as you mentioned before, right? You talked about culture, about there are so many things involved in that, and they are essential. You also mentioned problem solving, having some critical thinking, and I mean, do you think there are some specific challenges or perks, I would say, in the remote work setting when it comes to those skills?
As you already told, that for me the most challenging soft skills in remote environment is communication. Is the key soft skill as well that you must apply, because you don't have the personal communication. You cannot evaluate if you are going in a right direction or not. And besides that, you also have a cultural aspect involved, because for example, my team has, I believe that 3 to 4 nations, different nations working the same team with a very different background. And sometimes one concept in one language is totally different from other language. That's why I have a very, also advise my peers, my new peers, that it is really great approach. Not only you, when you receive some task, for example, not only read this task and just jumping in this task and try to work, but also do a health check with your supervisor. Ask again. Oh, that's why. That's really the task that you want to do. Send them some examples. Ask for an assertion that you are going in the right way. Because if you don't have a very good communication and a cultural aspect, so hard, so different to understand, probably you're gonna do the wrong task, and in the future it will be different to understand what's wrong. And if you stop and try to type a very simple question, a simple example about what are you thinking, and this will certify that you're going to think, you to save a lot of time of around work, for example. And the other aspect that you asked me about soft skills were about adaptability. Working from home is really different from working in person, because also you have to a lot of time with yourself. Usually you don't you usually have very few meetings, with your other guys, with the other team. Usually, in my case in particular, we have just one meeting at the day in order to have made a health check. And if I have some problem, I call the other persons from the team during the day. So you have to be self-motivated and self-focus on your activity, because no one will be supervising you, asking you to go to the right or the left way. You have to have this strong ability of communication.
Yeah, you will not be micromanaged, right? In the remote work set, chances are you will not have someone micromanaging you and like guiding all your steps. So
Sure.
discipline and self-motivations are like key here.
And sometimes on the online environment, we are afraid of ask people, for example. And this time, at the first of my journey here in Turing, I was a little bit concerned about asking some my supervisor and other colleagues about a doubt or a questions, or maybe some tests that I'm not sure about how to do. And as the day was passing, the days were passing, I realized that there is any problem, I ask 1, 2, 3, 4 times for helping to try to clarify. Every time that I didn't ask for helping, I make something wrong, and I spend much more time trying to correct my best job instead of just make some simple questions. And it's not a very a great environment to talk, to ask questions, to be in person. But as much as I start to know my team, to understand their lives, to ask, for example, some personal questions about their lives, if the people is married, if they like what kind of movie or what kind of music they like, this professional work of asking questions became as fluent, because I became to know that person, understand that it's not a robot, not a bot, not an AI, it's just a human being on the other side of the screen that have the same questions that I have, that have the same feelings that I have. So once I broke this impersonal behavior, I start to be more comfortable to ask questions, technical questions inclusive, and try to do a greater job than before.
Yeah, wow, that makes a lot of sense. I love that. Those are great insights. I completely agree with you. I think we need to make real efforts to build a healthy, nice, and human remote culture, right? It's so easy to just because we are in the online environment, we are oceans away from one another. We can just stick to this cold behavior and being afraid of one another, and okay, it's supposed to be remote, it's supposed to be just online, just be super straightforward and not having any sort of bonding and interaction. I mean, that can lead to problems, especially when it comes to communication, because understanding that the person in the other side of the computer is a human just like you, that enables better communication, as you perfectly put. That enables more efficient communication, because you feel safer and you feel more comfortable to share your ideas, to ask questions. If you have blockers, you communicate blockers. And I agree with you, it's far easier and more effective to ask the questions, to ask the right questions in the right way, than avoid asking and just make a mistake because you did not ask. So communicate your blockers, right? Reach out to people, because show vulnerability, because in the end we are all vulnerable sometimes. We all sometimes don't know exactly what we're supposed to do, especially when we are new. And you said that you had that feeling at the beginning of your journey with Turing. I'm sure right now you feel far more comfortable with your team.
Definitely, yes. And you have other challenges on my team, for example, because all my team is not is formed for persons that are no first English language speakers.
Mm-hmm.
So we have a Chinese guy, we have an Indian guy, a French guy, and me that's Portuguese. So we have to communicate among us in a second language that's not our first language. So if your communication is not so good, probably you are not work so great as we are, understanding as we are. and it's very great environment that we create, because you're able to know how it is to live in India, how it is to live in China, how it is to live in France. It's really great to have this cultural aspect, because you must have a great adaptability, because we are working in another culture for a US based company in our case, for example.
Yeah.
And their cultural aspect, the way of doing the things is really different from Brazil, for example. I was here during my 10 years here in the industry in Brazil. Always was focused on velocity, on speed. You have to make your job as fast as you can and go to the next. Even if you have a poor quality, for example, these were the focus. I started with this mindset, and the guys told me, no, Rafa, this is not the way we go here. You know, our goals here is focus on the quality. You have time to do your job as many as time as you have. If you have to spend 1 day, 2 days, a whole week in a task, in order to make sure that this task is done with the best way, do this. We don't care if you spend 2-3 weeks. Of course, if indeed this task needs this time, you have this time to work. This was very difficult for me at the beginning to change this mindset. So to have the non-communication as this adaptability, to understand how to work, what is prioritized in other companies, other corporate culture in other countries, then different than those in Brazil that I was used to doing my day-by-day job.
Yep, of course. It's that thing of like quality over quantity, right? Like quality is more important than quantity. That makes a lot of sense. And again, it relies upon good communication, because I think in order to deliver quality, you need to understand things with depth. And the only way to understand things with depth is through dialogue, through conversation, to transparent communication on a regular basis. So this all makes a ton of sense.
Technology, usually you don't have just one way to do the things. So you have to discuss with your colleagues the options, what are the pros, the cons, if it's a great way, the A or the B solution. And once you have agreed with what's the right solution, you have to implement them. So as much as you are able to speak, to express yourself with your consents, I believe that you will have the ability to do a great job.
Yep. Absolutely. This reminds me a lot of a very recent study conducted by Drake International. This survey revealed soft skills like communication and strong work ethic to be in high demand among Australians employers to accommodate long-term plans to continue working remotely. And there's actually another very recent survey where HR professionals named the 3 most critical soft skills for employees to be successful. And by hearing you today, Rafa, I think you will agree. The 3 are communication and collaborating well with others, managing time effectively, which is exactly what you said, like that time management, self-management is really important. And then third, last but not least, taking initiative and self-motivating. So I think those 3 things summarize super well what we have been discussing here today.
Sure.
And on a side note, I believe you agree that it's easier for developers to land jobs if they have better soft skills.
So yeah, I totally agree with this assertion. If you have a great communication, you'll be able to express your past work, your ability to express how you work in a team, for example. And as initiative, you have to go to further than what they asked about you, and try to understand the whole company, what is the business, what you can do to improve their working business as a technical professional. Being a data scientist or even a developer, you're able to really change the reality of the company. In my case, I'm working for a startup where the data science is the core of the startup. We are responsible for not only maintain the whole product working, but also to think in the future of the company, to understand how the clients do work with our product, and propose other models, other solutions to problems that in the future will become new products. So we have not only understand, for example, data science things, but I have to understand how the raw business work, what is the weakness or the pains of the jobs of the business, where I can build some technology that will improve the whole company. So these 30 characteristics that you mentioned, I totally agree that you have a very good skills that every developer or technical work should have in their belt.
In order to land a very good job, especially with a US based firm, because all of those comprehensions that you're mentioning should be in English, as we said before, and English as a foreign or second language, right? Not as your native language. Even to get matched with a job at Turing, developers need to have a strong conversational level English skills, as most of our partner companies hiring Turing developers are from the US and have English as their native language, right? Now, let's assume that a developer is already skilled in many, if not all of these soft skills. How then can they like highlight their soft skills? Should they mention it in their resume or advocate it during their interview? What do you think is the best way of going about it, showing, highlighting the great soft skills you have?
I believe that the first thing that was very different for me in my process was to really detail in a current test what was my past projects that I've been working and what was my role in this project. For example, I work in a 1 million project in my last job. But of course, I wasn't the only person doing this job. It was a team of 50 person working in this project. So the manager was interested in this. Okay, you participate in a project with very big. We have a very good outcome. But what was your role? What were you doing in order to help the team to achieve this goal? So once I tried to write a short history about the whole problem, what was the technology, what was involved, it was my concrete roles. That was one of the first differential that I believe that I was able to show the recruiters for my current manager that I was able to not only have the hard skills, but also to express myself in a test in order then to understand what was my previous job, my previous participation in this challenge, for example. And during the interview, try to be more initiative and try to understand what is the business, what do you build your responsibilities, try to understand how they work in the day by day. This was I was very curious about it. For example, here I have nowadays we have 5 hours difference from California. That was where I was based my company, and I was very curious how you manage this lapse of time, for example. And I asked how you can sync our period of work, how is the business, for example, how they gain clients, what is the pain that this startup was trying to solve. And when you demonstrate interest not only from the technical parts but from the business as a whole, this have a great impact on the interview, I believe, because you are not only being hired but in order to work to solve technical problems, but you hire in order to improve their products. You hire to understand how they work, how the raw process, the whole pipeline works. You will be a very better technician in order to build a great products and really solve the pain of the clients.
Yeah, that makes a lot of sense, and it makes the interviewer very aware that you will be embracing the business OKRs, goals, because you will be able to like understand what the business is all about, what the biggest accomplishments need to be, the impact that this business, this product will have in the market. So you're not only waiting to have tasks delivered to you and so you accomplish them and that's it. No, you really want to see how those tasks are part of something bigger and how you're really adding value to that business. I find that amazing. That's really great, and that's definitely.
I was very shy to ask questions during interview, but I believe the interview is the best moment to you ask questions about the future job, the future position, try to understand how is their culture, how they think about the world, how they manage the team, if you have a micro management or you are free to take your choices to choose your technology. There is some colleagues, for example, that don't like work a specific language, for example. And I believe that in this interview, this great moment to ask, okay, how you work? I'm free to choose my best tools. How is the culture of the company? And that's a great tip that always I do for my colleagues. Try to ask things in the interview. Do not just answer the questions. Ask your doubts, your questions. Demonstrate some interest about the company, the business, in order to gain more information, and not only to the interview, but also for you, in order to understand if you really want to work for this company, this kind of thing.
Yeah, I completely agree. It makes a lot of sense. That's very interesting. And like while making a developer profile on Turing, for instance, it's always good to take all of that into consideration and mentioning the soft skills you have and how they impacted the other business you worked with in the past, showing your non-technical skill sets. It gives customers a great idea of what you're capable of, for sure. This is very interesting discussion. Well, I could be talking about this forever, but like this really interests me, and I find that this is like an issue, you know, in this time and age that we are, when remote work becomes every day more and more popular, especially after the whole pandemic situation, which was really unfortunate, but kind of accelerated this shift that would happen inevitably at a certain moment in the future. I think the industry itself would come to realize that the future is remote. But I mean, on a closing note, Raphael, since this is a subject that needs to be discussed more often, now that we are in the middle of this revolution, moving to the cloud, what is some piece of advice to all of our developers now out there waiting to be matched with an awesome job, with an awesome remote job with a US-based firm? How can they improve their soft skills if they're not really confident about it? Because that's something we see. We see that many developers are not yet feeling 100% confident on their communication skills. They think that it's a matter of accent, but it's actually not a matter of accent. It's a diverse community, global community of developers. We'll have uncountable accents. It's about communicating effectively. So what would be your pieces of advice here to improve themselves, for them to improve themselves in terms of soft skills and have better chances of landing awesome, well-paid jobs?
I would believe that the best way to learn is work by doing, right? So if you don't have the opportunity to work yet for a company, there is a lot of open source projects in the GitHub, in the internet. I don't have any doubts, any question that you will be able to find a open source project that you like to work as a data science, or even as a programmer, as a developer. Probably you find some communities in open source software that are trying to build some cool stuff that will help the real community of technology, and these guys need help. And they're usually they have very in the GitHub you can find the issues of the projects that are open, that you can even push their repo. You can work by yourself, and you can make a PR for the project. And during this process working for open source, you'll be able to talk with the manager of the projects. You'll try to understand if you're going a right or bad way. Ask for them for help, for try to work in their projects. I totally believe that you will be able to find a project that the guys need help, because usually these guys really much more help, because the projects usually, as is an open source project, they didn't provide any money for these guys. So these guys are doing this project for a voluntary part in the free time. So if you ask them to help in a project, I totally believe that they want to agree and work with you. And you can write this history on your Turing aspect. For example, I work from this feature on the GitHub, and you have the GitHub with your name, where you have the PR from that feature. For example, you have to prove that you're working on that project. You have to describe how was the relation with the manager of the project. So open source for me is the best way. You have to create this experience if you don't have any formal job, or if you out of the industry for now.
Wow, that's really helpful. That's great advice. Thanks a lot for sharing such valuable advice, Raphael. I'm gonna add on top of Rafa's piece of advice here. I'm gonna add that if you join our community today, if you go to community.turing.com, we'll also have some great events, initiatives there for communication, for mentoring groups, mentoring sessions on soft skills, communication skills, public speaking, which is definitely something as well, how to crack a job interview, and many of those things that I was happy to discuss with Raphael here today. We'll be discussing more, having roundtable discussions and mentoring sessions, as I mentioned before. So this is also just to add to Rafa's advice. Thanks, Raphael. This was really, really cool. I really enjoyed it. I hope the audience that we had today enjoyed it as much as I did. Thanks for being part of our global community of extremely skilled developers and engineers. We're super happy and proud to have you in our community. And we hope this video reaches the larger developer community and helps us give great opportunities to many more skilled developers like Raphael here from across the globe. Thank you, Raphael. Thank you so much. Really, really appreciate it.
Too. It was really, really good to share a little bit about my information, my background with the new Turing developers. It was a pleasure to speak with you today.
Amazing. Thanks so much. To everybody out there, if you have any queries, please feel free to drop us an email at support@turing.com. Let us know here in the comments below what you'd like to learn in the next video. Give us a big fat thumbs up if you like this video. And do not forget to subscribe to Turing.com, right? We will be back with many such Turing Dev Talks and developer stories. Till then, stay safe and click on the link in the description below to apply to Turing today. Thank you. Bye.
Bye-bye.